Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to another pair of subscriber replays. And in this video we're going to have a couple of games courtesy of Beer and Wings, showing a bit of tank destroyer gameplay. So we're starting off with a machine that I have shown on this channel but not in a very long time. This is the Soviet Tier 6 tank destroyer, the SU-100. I played this a long time ago. I mean, I'm at the Tier 8 and 9 Soviet tank destroyers, so I must have played this, but it was a long time ago. I wasn't a huge fan of the machine, I must admit. I will rebuy it at some point to try and ace it. But, like I said, here we have Beer and Wings. So what's the SU-100 like? Well, I always think in many ways it's a bit like a Tier 6 ISU-152. Whether it's called the SU-100, and it's called that because historically it got a 100mm gun. In addition to that 100mm gun, in the game, you also get the option of mounting a 122mm gun, which is what Beer and Wings has here. 122mm gun with 175 penetration and 390 alpha damage. Sorry about that. Which at Tier 6 hurts a lot. In fact, the only gun I can think of that hurts more is the one right next to him, this SU-100Y. Now we're here on the cliff map, and I must confess, I don't like the position that Beer and Wings has gone to, because I often find that watching over the 1 and 2 lines on this map is kind of a waste of time. Even if there are people who drive down there, generally speaking, they're not the people who are going to have the most influence on the game. So that's a personal preference. I would have gone over toward where the other SU-100Ys, good lord, an SU-100 and two SU-100Ys, holy moly, and a Burt platoon. Matchmaker was on crack when it made this game. Anyway, I would have gone over toward about J8. If I had done so, well, maybe I wouldn't have had the result that a Beer and Wings here is going to have, who I'm just going to call Beer for short, by the way. There we go. Well, already the scoreline is 2-4. So the friendly team are kind of getting their bottom prodded a little bit. What are you going to do? You can see the enemy team have a few heavy tanks, and they've successfully pushed round the 8 and 9 lines. So we're now very much in the situation where the friendly team is rather on the back foot. Beer and Wings is playing this his SU-100 a bit like a sniper. There's the KV-1S, but this gun, reliable it is not. So there's that. And that was really the reason I didn't like this machine. I found the gun frustrating. You can use the 100mm gun, that's a perfectly viable option, but it doesn't pack quite the same punch as the 122. OI experimental here on not a fat lot of health. Tree fell there. Beer could have tried a blind shot but decides against it, and this gun has a relatively long reload, so I entirely understand that decision. T67 is exposing not a huge amount of his tank. And the scoreline is 4-9, by the way. Oh, almost. This is the reason why I don't really like the J1/2 sort of position. Because it's one of those tank destroyer positions that only really does anything a lot of the time when most of your team are already dead. And so that doesn't put you in the best position to start off with, let's be honest. KV-1S here. Ah, oh, bless him. Bless him. Oh. 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 Oh dear. That's this 122mm gun for you. Massive amount of alpha damage, set the guy on fire and he just burned to death. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why fire extinguishers are your friend. Hello, Mr. Jumbo. Ooh, a bounce. So, there we go. Can he reload in time to shoot this guy? Nah, not really. Jumbo has managed to get himself into cover. Matilda 4 up there, but it would be a blind shot. Ooh. Jumbo takes a big old hit. Can Beer finish him off into the side armor? There's kill number 2. OI experimental dies to enemy artillery as he tries to take out that Matilda. Only 5 damage from that artillery shell. That's kind of lucky. Beer is trying to line up a shot on this Matilda 4. Not exactly the most dangerous tank in the world, but hey, they're all going to die, right? And there's kill number 3. And there's a hit from the AMX ELC. Now, you can see that all the artillery. You can see that both Beer and the SU-100Y here have racked up quite a considerable amount of damage. I thought that blind shot might have hit. And they've each racked up 3 kills. So, there we go. T-34-85 away in the distance. Nah, that shot was nowhere near hitting. And, well, there's only the 2 of them left. And they are outnumbered 3 to 1. However, half of that is artillery, which is a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, it means fewer of the enemy are coming at them at once, because 3 of them are sitting on the A line. But on the flip side, it means that even just getting spotted, they can still take a lot of damage. And goodbye, T-34-85. Hope you had a fun game. There's kill number 4. Churchill Mark III, with his little pew-pew gun, takes 470 damage from the SU-100Y. And Bish actually bounces on him. Wasn't the best angle, to be fair. So that is a bounce that doesn't massively surprise me. Trying to find the gun depression to line up another shot. And it's kill number 5. And now it's just the AMX and the 3 artillery. Good lord. And all 3 artillery were gunning for Beer, which is not surprising because the SU-100Y is RT safe. 167 health left. Now, the other thing about the SU-100, as well as getting a dirty big gun, the other 2 things, are that the armour doesn't completely suck. I mean, it's no heavy tank, but the armour can get some bounces. And the mobility isn't actually bad. You can see him going along here at over 45 kilometers an hour. So the speed is respectable, of course, bearing in mind that it does not have a fully rotatable turret. So there's that. Anyway, Beer has had enough of sitting up there at the back. He's going to go and try and kill these guys, which with artillery you're probably going to have to go and do eventually anyway. Now, if he's hunting down this ELC, well, the ELC is a one-shot for him, just by virtue of the ELC doesn't get more than 400 health and this gun hits for 390. But he is also a one-shot for the ELC, 240 alpha on that little light tank, quote-unquote, gun. SU-100Y only has 37 health remaining, which is also something worth considering. And there's the AMX ELC on 25 hit points. Wow. So, Beer is trying to line up a shot on the guy. Now, the ELC also has to aim for a long time in order to fire his gun with any accuracy, but he gets the time to aim as Beer unfortunately misses his shot. Can he reload in time to execute the guy? No, he cannot. So, Beer is now outnumbered 1 versus 4. Coming over, he's trying to get shots on this ELC, but it's so awkward. He doesn't really have the gun depression. He doesn't really have the accuracy at this range. He doesn't really have the shell velocity. This is a pretty terrible engagement for the SU-100. And if he's being spotted, he can expect artillery to take a significant interest in his well-being. Speaking of which. So, screw that for a game of soldiers. Now, Beer has this tank to be setted out as a sniper. He's got the binoculars, he's got the camo now, and oh, holy mother of God, there is a Hummel, 300 health. Not anymore. There's kill number 6. Someone is in the base, almost certainly that ELC. But Beer just wants to keep moving at the moment to try and not get artilleried by the M44s. The cliff isn't the biggest map in the world, so Beer can come over here, try and spot artillery, and then head back. He's currently deciding by the look of it what it is he's going to do. Resetting the base has to be your priority. Now, I must admit, in this situation, I think I would be loading one of Beer's many high explosive shells. 122mm HE ammo, 530 alpha damage, 61 penetration. That would be enough to penetrate and reliably one-shot the M44s. Heck, he could even splash them and probably still kill them, and he could certainly splash and kill the AMX ELC. I just think it would be a slightly more reliable ammunition choice if he's going back to reset the base. Nonetheless, Beer is sticking with the good old armor piercing. He's only got 2 AP rounds left, and he's trying, by the look of it, to get into a position from which he can spot the ELC, but the ELC is a very sneaky little machine. I have done, in fact I think I've got a video on this channel showing camouflage tests against the ELC. There it is. ELC, however, is looking the wrong way. ELC is no more. 1 AP shell left. He does have 6th sense. He did get spotted. Is that artillery going to wreck him? I would probably be cowering behind that rock. Oh, there's 1, there's 2. RT has fired. So, Beer is going to push this forward. Can he hunt down the scumbags? I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. There are 4 minutes left on this game. And while the SU-100 isn't a slow machine, it can be quite awkward or take a while to go and hunt down the artillery in a, well, what one would hope is a relatively safe manner. So just coming down the 9 line here, which I don't think is a terrible idea, although he does have to be very careful of the amount of time left on the game. If he spends too long being sneaky and clever, the enemy team may just bore this out to a draw, basically. Hasn't been spotted, so the artillery's not up there. The M44s are quite mobile though, so they are capable of relocating. Now, the problem with this position is he doesn't have any cover, so he may get spotted on his approach. 2.5 minutes left. And it looks like Beer is going, well, this could be going for the cap circle. Often you also find some artillery up here as well. Again, not being spotted, so it doesn't look like either of the M44s are up here. Now, if Beer starts capping, the thing is, the enemy artillery, there are 2 of them, so they can potentially cap faster. 2 minutes left on this game. So it looks like Beer is trying to nail the artillery pieces in the face. Problem with doing that, of course, is that very much limits his options to cap if he were to decide to do that. And now, realistically, Beer cannot cap this game out because, well, he needs 1 minute 40 to cap the game, and there's less than that on the clock, so I'm going to speed this along a little bit. The M44s have clearly relocated, which actually indicates they have 3 brain cells between them. And 1 minute left. Can Beer find these artillery pieces? And he's at the stage where he's running out of time. But there is one of them, M44. Ooh, and we're in Mexican standoff territory, but we don't know where the other artillery piece is. And as it is, mutually assured destruction. They actually fire at the same time, and unfortunately kill each other. Let's go and have a look at the post-battle results. There we go, that was quite a painful defeat for Beer and Wings there. Ace Tanker, eye for an eye, which is an unusual one to see for the mutual death on that M44 at the end. Bruiser, Arsonist, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Defender, High Caliber, Top Gun, and a Radley Walters medal, and still not enough to secure that win. 2,495 damage done, 8 kills, 785 base experience before you include the heroic resistance bonus. 18 shots fired, 11 hits, 9 penetrations for that damage count, most of which was from relatively close range. 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 8 destroyed, everything he shot at died. This ammunition is fairly expensive, so the profit wasn't particularly impressive on that game, but you can see that 785 base experience, once you'd thrown in things like the heroic resistance and all that jazz, he actually got 1466 base experience, plus 63 XP for a loss. I must confess, at the end, I think he probably would have been better off trying to cap, but there were problems with capping, and I understand his decision in the end. Anyway, there we go. That was, unfortunately, the first replay that I wanted to show you from Beer and Wings. A good result in the end. alas, not quite enough for that win. So let's move on to the second game. Here we go with our second game then. Now, apologies, I know I said I was going to show 2 games from Beer and Wings. Unfortunately, the second replay I was going to show of his, which was in the T110E4, the American Tier 10 tank destroyer, bugged out. Like, massively bugged out. And so, I've decided instead, I'll still show you a T110E4 game. It will just be from someone else. So my apologies about that. Occasionally it happens. Occasionally the replay files have a bit of a skits fit. World of Tanks replay system is a bit buggy. So instead, we have the pleasure of Guzzlers. Now, some of you may have seen games with this guy before. Also known as Craig Von Red. On this occasion, he is, as I mentioned, in the T110E4, and he is platooned up with a clanmate, Mishakil? I'm probably mispronouncing that. Both of whom are from the 102nd clan. And they're both driving T110E4s. Now, I don't own the E4. On that line, I'm currently at the T28 prototype. But as far as I can work out, it basically plays a bit like a heavy tank with a dirty big gun, which seems fine to me. I can work with that. The armour can be a little bit dodgy, although I must admit when I'm shooting them they seem to bounce everything I fire in their general direction, so I don't know. Either way, we're here on the Siegfried line. This is a standard game, so none of that encounter or assault rubbish. And it's worth noting that while the T110E4 does have a turret, it's not a fully rotating turret. Hello, Mr. E100. It only rotates through the front 180 degrees, so the E4 cannot shoot behind it. It does, however, as that E100 experienced, have a dirty great big 155mm gun. This is a tank destroyer at the end of the day. With an average of 750 damage and average penetration of 295, so around about 300. If you're willing to fire APCR, that penetration jumps up to 375, which is monstrous, as is often the way with Tier 10 tank destroyers firing gold ammunition. So Guzzlers is just trying to find a shot on that E100, takes the shot, doesn't really want to hang around, ends up not penetrating the shot, but, you know, let's not worry ourselves too much about that. He didn't take any damage himself either, so that's something. We've got the other, another E100. Both of these guys are in a platoon away across there. There he is, unfortunately not quite able to get a shot, as it's one of those timing things. Guzzler's platoon mate was in front of him at the time, and this gun is a little bit derpy. He gets tracked, and 712 through the lower front plate. It looks like these E100s are spamming high explosive ammo, which is, well, amusing if nothing else. And in many ways, actually, the E100 has quite a lot in common with the E4. Although the E100 is a heavy tank, goodbye, it gets a dirty great big 15cm gun. And the E4 is a TD that plays a bit like a heavy tank with a big gun, and the E100 is a heavy tank that plays a bit like a heavy tank with a big gun, because it is a heavy tank with a big gun, so there are things that they have in common. And Guzzlers keeps getting low rolls, I must admit. That was only 695. I know, only, quote-unquote, 695. But even so, low roll is a low roll. Backing around this corner, trying, and there we go. Manages to bounce this IS-4's return shot, and yeah, finally gets a high roll. The IS-4 was going to struggle to bounce that, and the friendly artillery finishes him off. So that's the IS-4 dealt with. Unfortunately, Guzzler's platoon mate takes a big hit from the enemy E100, but manages to put a big hit in return. And Guzzlers is now lining up a shot. And another low roll. What are you going to do, eh? 684, tracking the E100 into the bargain. Guzzlers has been firing an awful lot of shots that track, which has its advantages. 684 from his platoon mate, and with any luck, good night, sweet prince. Kill number 2. Scoreline is 6-5. Artillery is desperately trying to kill Guzzlers here. And I must admit, I know it's not everyone's favourite tank, but from this replay, I'm wondering if I might like the E4. I guess time will tell. So IS-3 decided not to poke around the corner. Didn't want to eat a 15cm shell to the face, which is entirely understandable. However, there was the IS-4's gun barrel in Guzzler's way, so there's a reasonable chance he wouldn't have been able to shoot him anyway. IS-3 gets 1500 health, which means... oh, there's a thing in the way. Which means he is, with average damage rolls, a 2-shot for Guzzlers here. And no! Guzzler's platoon mate gets finished off by artillery. It's a bit of a shame. Nah, never mind. Jagdtiger there, and... doesn't bother fully aiming it, still manages to get a big amount of damage into the Jagdtiger, though the Jagdtiger does respond in kind, though Guzzlers does have a bigger gun. And the IS-3 is still over there on full health. There's also a T110E4 around here somewhere, which, well, T110E4 should give anyone pause for concern. So, IS-3 takes a very large amount of damage, then takes a second very large amount of damage, but penetrates Guzzlers in the process, and will probably have to reload on Guzzlers. But he's dead, so that's okay. Incoming T110E4. Now Guzzlers is unlikely to kill this guy in one shot, he has got over 1100 health, and the E5 can kill Guzzlers in one shot, so this is a slightly awkward situation. But there is a TVP T50 around about as well. So with any luck, they should be able to tag team this E5 down. Although the TVP seems to be focusing a bit more on those medium tanks and artillery, and as it turns out, the E5 has gone somewhere else. I wonder if he was trying to flank Guzzlers. It could be quite amusing if that ended up being the case. So, coming around, anyone here? Nope. No idea where this guy's gone. Ring a roses. There he is. And whooyah! 15cm shell to the bum. Oh, Guzzlers might die to this, but no. Badoing. Artillery hits him for 228. Second artillery finishes the E5 off. And that just leaves some tier 8 medium tanks and artillery. Now they can of course kill Guzzlers. He only has 158 health remaining. But whatever, at this stage in the game, and actually, you know, Guzzler's team could lose this. It's not entirely possible. But even so, Guzzlers wants a bit more damage, bounces the AMX CDC. That shot could have gone into his side and ended him, so that was perhaps a little lucky. TVP, however, has full health, so he can go and wreck the CDC. And Guzzler's just trying to see if he can find a shot, though it's very unlikely. I don't think the AMX is going to want to poke up again after, you know, realising there's a dirty great big gun here. There's the artillery. There is the AMX, though. And Guzzlers puts him out of his misery as the TVP comes up behind the artillery, who may well shotgun Guzzlers in the face. Yeah, there we go. And at the same time gets wrecked by friendly artillery. No, it wasn't. It was actually the T-49 who managed to kill Guzzlers. God damn it. Concentrating so much on that artillery. No one saw the sneaky little light tank with the big howitzer. So that's a little bit of a shame, but never mind. Hopefully the friendly team can hunt down this T-49 in fairly short order. TVP should certainly be able to have the better of this engagement. And there he is, going for the artillery, can't really blame him, and the TVP misses all his shots. And the Allied artillery actually manages to kill the other Allied artillery, which is a little annoying. TVP takes a HE shell, but nothing too critical. And he should be able to pump these 3 shots in, and then the next magazine from the TVP will finish off the T-49, and as long as he doesn't expose anything stupid to the T-49, oh, there we go. He shouldn't die to the howitzer, and there we go, as it is. Manages to kill the T-49, and that is the game. So let's go and have a look at those post-battle stats. Here we go then. That ended up being Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Fire for Effect, and High Caliber for Guzzlers there. Very much playing the T110E4 like a heavy tank. 7,101 damage done, 3 kills, 1,237 base experience. Sorry about that. Shout out should also go to the friendly TVP T50, who managed over 5,500 damage and 4 kills, and the enemy T49, who got almost 3,000 damage, which is nice going for a tier 8 light tank in a tier 10 match. 12 shots fired, all of which hit, only one of them failed to penetrate for that damage count. Received 10 hits, 6 penned, 4 didn't, for about 1500 damage blocked by Guzzler's armour. Some assistance damage thrown into the bargain, and despite the fact that the shell price is quite expensive, Guzzlers was still able to make a respectable profit. With a premium account, and even with a standard account, he'd have just snuck a small profit in as well, and a nice amount of experience. So apologies for this replay not being the one I had intended, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed those TD contributions from Beer and Wings and Guzzlers, showing a bit of a broad spectrum of TDs there, Tier 6 Soviet SU-100, and then the Tier 10 American T110E4, both of which get dirty big guns, however. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and if you wish to submit your own replays, upload those replay files to whatreplays.com and send me the link to them as a PM on YouTube, and I shall take a look. I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.